Afternoon. In this video I'm doing the final, hopefully final touches to the MR2 before it can be driven. And one of the things I'm doing is messing with the map again. I'm slowly learning. I've not actually put much effort into learning anything yet, but there's a few useful things. One thing I sort of noticed, and then I got confirmation from my friend Lee Connor, the guy with the Lotus, after, well, he messaged me this morning and said what I was thinking. He said, you know what, the car was able to start with the VE map set at 100 across the board, and then you just flatly made it 50 to see what it would do, and it still started and ran. So he said, due to the lambda corrections and all that, he said just to get it driving, he said, I reckon you could easily estimate a VE map just quickly, you know, because you can, I could do it in more detail even with my own skills, but just a basic one. And he said, I'll bet you that will drive just fine thanks to the way this ECU seems to work. Aside from the ECU shenanigans, this afternoon I've basically been sort of finishing things off. So finished off with the exhaust wrapping, and what I mean by finished off is added the wire tie for that, and also a little, well, a lot of people say to do it, and I've done it in the past but I didn't bother this time, and I often don't bother, is I often spray the heat wrap with like a VHT, you know, high temp paint. And yeah, sometimes I don't bother, and especially once because I did this on the car, I didn't bother because obviously it'd make a fucking mess. But then I remembered I had some VHT clear lacquer, so I gave the obviously that's invisible, so I gave it a blast while on the car, because all the VHT paint does is just sort of help keep it all together, you know what I mean, the stop things from fraying so easy and that kind of shit. So I gave it all a blast with VHT clear, which it just sort of makes the ends stiffer and less likely to just turn to fluff and go away, so helps it live. But yeah, I've refitted the drive shafts, which is pretty important when you want to drive it. Thomas kindly fitted a, well, this side needed a new CV boot, but unfortunately the old CV joint, I couldn't get it off. It was just, it's one of them ones, the design of these type of CVs means sometimes they just don't want to come off. I couldn't get it off, I thought it was me. Thomas had to go, he couldn't get it off, and it was a case of, like anyone who knows with CVs, sometimes if they ain't coming off, you just gotta fucking destroy it off. Luckily, I bought a while ago 2 brand new CVs, the correct fitment for what this is. This is Toyota RAV4 outer sections, because they're beefier than the MR2 ones and they straight swap into the hubs. So yeah, luckily did that. So rather than just changing the boot, it's a whole new CV and boot, so that's job done, all bolted up. I've just checked everything for leaks or hanging down bits, and yeah, I reckon everything's all right. I think, I'm not convinced there's not a slight leak from the oil filter there. I tightened it with my hand again as tight as I could earlier, and there's no reason it should fucking leak because it's brand new, but it might be a tiny one. Yeah, one thing I've done, which is small but quite important, is made a removable bracket, like a brace, for the screamer pipe. I didn't bother originally because, well, it weighs nothing, so it's not like it's gonna, well, it don't really matter, you wouldn't think. But once I started the car, I realised it did vibrate quite a bit, even though stiff. And as Thomas rightly pointed out, the longer something is, even if it's not heavy, there's more leverage. And with vibration here, it's going to be shaking that end more. It's just more likely to fail. So I just made a little removable bracket, basically 2 strips of stainless, one welded to there, one welded to there, a hole drilled through it, and then a bolt bolts them together, so it's rock solid. So that should be good. Tidy solution and easy to remove anytime I need to. So yeah, it should be all good. Still contemplating removing the wastegate and getting Thomas to recut the valve and the seat in the lathe to make it seal perfect. But again, also in 2 minds whether that's truly needed. So we'll see, but it's easy to get to regardless. It don't matter for now. Right, so this is the car running now. Things still aren't anywhere near perfect, but it, you know, it's okay. But it keeps cutting out when I let off, which is a bit annoying. So yeah, runs nice. Don't run right yet, but it idles lovely. And it likes to rev with this new flywheel, that's for sure. Friday night, and I was bleeding the clutch. It was very late, coming on for midnight if I remember right. And it took me ages to bleed the clutch, and I bled it. And then I tried to drive the car, you know, on the air, on the stand, on the lift, and didn't work. When I lifted the clutch up, the car would stall. It's like, what the hell? So basically the wheels wouldn't turn at all. Even with quite a lot of revs, you could see it trying and it would just stall. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong now? And I thought, oh, I hope there's something not wrong with the gearbox, something's jammed. Or then I thought, well, the other day the gearbox was turning before the drive shafts were in, so maybe I've done something wrong with the drive shafts and they're binded up, or, you know, stupid things like that. But today I plan to come here and work out what that problem was. And it turns out Thomas found out what it was before he even got here and messaged me when I was on the way. And once again, like all the problems I've had so far on this, I need to do a tick list. So it was, forgot to put any spark plugs in, tick. Forgot to connect the alternator, tick. And this one was the bloody wheel was jammed against the leg of the lift to prevent it from, so it wouldn't turn because of that. Now it turns fine. So again, it was just a stupid problem caused by me, but I'm really glad all these problems so far are stupid little things that just because I've made a, you know, real silly simple mistake, because there's been no big problem so far, and hope that carries on. But now at least I don't need to do any mechanical shit. So I'm probably now gonna sit in the car and look at the laptop and try and learn a bit more of the software and get this thing driving okay. You know, don't have to be perfect, but just idling and then driving would be great. I'm not confident because I've not fucking even looked at the stuff before, but people claim it's easy.
Oh, come on. In 5 minutes you've done so much progress the other day.
Yeah, I know.
You should be driving today, come on.
Well, I hope
Not
so.
been mapped, but...
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, people say it's easy, and I've done harder stuff so far, so maybe it is. So, but I haven't even looked yet, so I should have in these last couple of nights, but I just can't be bothered. So yeah, I'm going to have a nosy at the software and watch a couple of things, because thankfully Bill at Badger 5 had made some videos that's on his YouTube channel that supposedly explain how to do all this shit. So I'm going to have a nosy at them and then have a go myself. So time for a gearbox oil change using Redline shockproof heavy duty one, which honestly is as thick as like a smoothie, and looks like it too. Looks like a strawberry smoothie. It's really, really thick, ridiculously thick, and sort of a pinky red colour. But that is gearbox oil. And if it can make this live and also dampen out any noise from having a really light single mass flywheel, because O2M 6 speeds at idle, or well, in a lot of times, but especially idle, with a single mass, especially a light one like I've got, rattle like fuck. Like, it's just vibrations, and this stuff should help that a bit. Doesn't do any damage, it just sounds a bit AIDS. So yeah, I'll just drain the oil. It's still dripping now, but I think it's time to just give up and put the plug back in, and hopefully this stuff will help it out. Hopefully it'll help it live as well though, even if it don't make it any quieter, anything to try and help this poor old standard box stay alive with all the power it's gonna have through it. It's worth it. That's one bottle done, and it really is bright pink, but it's also so fucking thick, it is a bastard to pump. But yeah, if it works, it works. Well, I see a lot of people saying that oil I put in is no good for normal gearboxes. People say it ruined the synchros, people say it make it really hard to shift, all this kind of bollocks. But it's made the gearbox shut up because of the, you know, got rid of the vibrations in neutral, which is what happens with a super light flywheel. To be honest, if I didn't find this gear oil to be anything special, because it's not expensive, it was like, you know, for all that oil was like 80 quid or something. I'm gonna try next just some really high viscosity like HGV truck oil, you know, 75 140 or whatever, which should probably do the same job, but I don't know. In all honesty, I don't believe this gearbox oil is going to be a problem. I think the gearbox would fail from something else before the synchros or something wore out, especially since I flat shift it everywhere. So if it still allows the gear changes to be fast when hot, and if it stops that noise, which it certainly has, because that's horrible, then I'm happy. So we will see. But at the moment I'm just warming it up because I'm having another attempt at trying to make it drive, because at the moment it's not so easy, mostly because massive injectors. I could put the littler injectors back in it for now and get it driving easy, but with 1300cc injectors, getting the mix between idle and driving, you know, the transition is a bit of a mission. Well, it's now idling and revving and not stalling, so now I think I mostly need to go out for a drive and, you know, do it from there, but it revs. Then goes back to idle. Beautiful. Now that looks like a proper sleeper, even if I do say so myself. Back bumper on, with it modified again to clear the exhaust, because if you remember from earlier videos, I said that when I designed the exhaust and made it, I used the old engine, and clearly the engine mount was knackered, so it was tilted back more than it should have been, so I had to cut a little bit more. But as you can see from here, you've got the only deliberately visible tailpipe is the little pea shooter one, which is actually the screamer, and the big one is relatively hidden as best I can. So it faces the ground, and it's, you know, it's pretty well hidden. Also, not sure if you can tell, probably can, but I have doubled up the mesh to basically make it as invisible as possible. Like literally it's got mesh that way, and then some extra bits which I turn the other way. So if you look up close, it's looks like a weird spider's web of fucking mess. But it does a pretty good job of making everything behind there invisible. So quite pleased with that. So yeah, it looks like nothing, which is exactly what I wanted. Proper sleeper. It's taken its first steps from there to there, and I'm really pleased to say the clutch is nice to use. Obviously, being a super light flywheel and twin plate, I kind of expected to stall it the first few times while I'm getting used to it, but nah, it's fine. I've driven way worse. Someone who's not used to it may be a bit funny, but I'm used to so much worse clutches, I don't care. My rear number plate lights don't fucking work. New bulbs, I think. I've just plugged them in, so they definitely are plugged in. As you can probably tell, pretty quiet. It's pissing down horrible, but in a minute I'm just gonna go up and down the road, so I think I'll leave the camera somewhere so it can pick up the footage. I'm not going to go mental because obviously it's not mapped. I just want to see if it drives. Let's see. That'll do. You're not going to see anything really in this video because it's a bit dark and I've literally just stuck the camera on the charge cooler, but you'll get an idea of the ridiculous fucking noise it makes in here. Let's just go up and down the road. I mean, I'm literally not going over like 3,000 RPM. Not even positive boost, but fucking hell, it sounds crazy. Love it. What can I say? I don't think that could have went much better if I tried. Literally, that drive then was with, well, a map, a base map that I made in, I don't know, 10 minutes earlier today over there, you know, without the car even moving. I made a couple of base maps earlier in the week and they got it to idle, but they wouldn't have driven. But learning from that and sort of realizing what was going on, I just started a completely fresh one earlier today over there, and it was enough to make it drive good. That's not like that's not an example of my fucking mapping skills, because that is really full credit to the Ignitron ECU, because it's fucking awesome. But the only credit I've got is I realised what the fuck was going on, as in why it would run but not drive and so on. Basically, if you've got smaller injectors or even remotely sensible size injectors, they're fairly linear, so they would probably drive straight up off the base map. You know, if you had normal, like, you know, 600, 650, whatever cc injectors, which are still big, they're like, that's like injectors for about 400 horsepower. That would have been fine, but big injectors, like realistically 1000cc plus, they can be very non-linear, as in, especially low down, like low RPM, low, what do you call it, low injector pulse width. When they're barely doing anything, they can struggle a bit, and they're not, well, I won't say struggle, but they're not linear. I even googled these injectors and found lots of people complaining that they couldn't make them work. But I think there's nothing wrong with the injectors, they just couldn't make them work in the same way I couldn't figure out. Basically, I had to take out a shitload of fuel at, you know, static idle, but rather than on a very linear injector you would sort of rise the fuel like that, this needed like way less, according to the VE table, than you'd expect at dead idle, and then bump straight up to, you know, exactly off idle, like just trying to move the car 1500 RPM. It needed back to normal fuel. It's kind of like they are linear beyond the kind of pulse widths you'd have at idle, because these are like, they're snake eater performance injectors, so kind of budget injectors, and they're called SP 1500s. They're not really 1500cc. They are, these ones were flow tested at 1330, so they're still massive, but they're not quite 1500, but they are fucking big. But the difference is they're not like fucking 800 plus quid like a set of sort of injector dynamics ones are, which, you know, yeah, they're better. Yeah, they would probably be easier to map at low RPM, but this is a budget build and they're not going to gain me anything apart from that, so, you know, I'm cool with this. So yeah, once I'd figured out the situation to get massive injectors running nice at low RPM, the rest, well, really, the base map did for me. Obviously it's not right yet, but I'm going to go out and do all the mapping and this, that, the other to do that, but it's right enough at the moment that the ECU is compensating enough to keep it right on its own. It's not that far out, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, I'm really pleased and learning, do you know what I mean? Because you know, at first it was like, what the fuck is wrong? And there was a couple of points when I was like, nah, it's just these injectors. Like, you know, half contemplating getting some fancy ones, or even popping in my 640s or whatever they were, it used to be in the car, just to sort of get it driving and get the map right. But after a bit of a think last night, I sort of had it in my head what I thought was going wrong, and yeah, like I said, 10-minute, very quick, probably faster than I'd made any of the previous base maps, but only because I've done it before. Probably a 10-minute map, and now it drives fine. So yeah, loving this Ignitron. Absolutely fucking super user friendly, because I'm no mapper, you know what I mean? I understand. The reason I got it right in the end is because I understand how engines work and tuning works and so on. But fucking software and understanding all that, hell no. It's still, I still look at it now, even though I've learned a lot, and it's like, what the fuck am I looking at? You know, it's all a foreign language to me. But thankfully I know tuning a bit, so I made sense of things. So yeah, that'd be it for this video. It's still pissing down and dark and horrible, but the car's done and ready to be driven. I'm just gonna wait for a slightly less shit day and then go do some miles and get the mapping sorted. But now this is kind of done, means I can get on with this thing, which looks like a fucking heap at the moment, but to be honest, it won't take much to make this, you know, complete really. But anyway, that's enough for this video. Nothing bad seemed to have happened on the drive. Don't see any extra leaks or fires or nothing, but obviously it's a bit dark, so I'll check another day because the car's soaking wet, but all good. So yeah, hope you liked it, and yeah, stay tuned because there'll be much more of this, and you've seen and heard it now, even revving to like about 3,500 RPM, and it sounds fucking bananas. Imagine this going to, well, it's probably good to rev to about 8.5, and obviously maybe between 2 and 2.5 bar boost probably, and that was, yeah, 3,500 RPM and no boost. I don't think, no positive boost, it was just coming out of vacuum. So yeah, it's gonna be fucking ridiculous. So yeah, you know, usual, like, comment, subscribe, run and tell your friends, share with everybody. If you want to help me out in any way, because obviously this makes me fucking no money, and this car takes me a lot of my time and money that I should be trying to earn money, which is part of the reason I ain't got any. Feel free to join my Patreon. It's down, link is in the description at the bottom of the video. Obviously anything's appreciated, because, you know, even if you're donating bloody £1 a month, that still helps. You know, it all adds up, and that still helps me even, you know, put fuel in it if nothing else. Do you know what I'm saying? So everything's appreciated. And yeah, you know, feel free to comment. As you probably know, I try and reply to most comments if I can, if they, you know, if there's something that's actual replyable to. So yeah, I will see you hopefully soon. Hopefully, wow, I'm pretty fucking keen to get this going even better now, so hopefully within a week or so, maybe less, you'll see a new video. See you later.